Today on I don't even know what to call this, Mac of the Future sort of podcast. I'm still trying to do this in a hotel room with iffy Wi-Fi, and I don't even know if it's going to work. But here we are anyway. Thank you for joining me today on the sort of Mac of the Future podcast. Go. Okay, so here we are in Birmingham, Alabama. And it was a trip. It was a trip to get down here. There was a lot going on. Just just trying to get here, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Got a comment here from Adam asking, "Does this mean the podcast is returning?" No, it does not. It just means that I kind of needed a test reason to try out all the gear, and I already had the opening, and I downloaded a new timer, and I'm just trying some of the new features in StreamYard. But it very well could be someday. There's absolutely no reason why I couldn't bring it back. For those who are wondering why I'm even here in Birmingham, tonight at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time is going to be the debut of the USFL. It's going to be the New Jersey Generals versus the Birmingham Stallions. Now, having said that, every single one of the games is going to be played this season for the next 10 weeks, if they make it that long, here in Birmingham. Most of them are going to be played at, they're calling it, I think it's the Protective Stadium, something like that. It's here in Birmingham. It's relatively close to where I am right now. And I'm just a sucker for hard luck stories and football leagues that are here today and gone tomorrow. So we'll see if the USFL can stand the test of time and get through an entire season, because so far the AAF, the Alliance of American Football, couldn't do it. XFL, because of COVID, couldn't do it. So now here we have a third league with all kinds of money behind it. And the games are going to be broadcast on Fox and on NBC here in the United States. I don't know where they're going to be at elsewhere in the world, but Fox and NBC here in the United States. And I'm going to be at the game tonight, and I'm hoping that it's not going to be really, really super rainy. It was last night. I actually got woken up about 3 a.m. by a thunderstorm that was passing through the area. And I mean, it was loud. It sounded like it was right outside the door. But we'll see if the rain lasts and if I'm going to get like completely soaked. I did go out and buy an umbrella right after I had breakfast this morning. So I have some kind of covering for myself if I'm at the stadium. And it's an outdoor stadium, so any rain that comes down, there's not going to be a whole lot in the way of protection. But I'm really, really looking forward to it. I'm going to attend the game tonight and hopefully one or two games tomorrow, depending on the weather and how things go. But that's my plan. That's what I'm planning to do right there. As far as Apple goes, honestly, it's been kind of quiet. One thing I have been kind of wondering about is, they had the big announcements a couple weeks ago with the Mac Studio and the Studio Display, where were the two big announcements. And I'm wondering if anybody here in the Mac of the Future group here on Facebook has gotten one. Did you get the Mac Studio? Did you get the studio display? And if you did, was this your first M series Mac, or is this a replacement for some other one that you got? Now, I have to admit, as I watched the presentation, I was very, very tempted, because getting an M1 Pro, even at there was no way I was going to go to an M1 Ultra with, at a starting price of $4,000. And by the time you outfit it the way I would have kind of wanted it, you were looking at probably close to $5,000. Whereas the one with the single processor, just an M1 Pro, you were looking at about $2,000 with add-ons that I would have wanted, would have been about $2,800. So it wasn't that it wasn't doable. The problem for me was I already had an M1 Mac Mini, and it is the 16 gigabytes of RAM model with 1 terabyte of storage built in. And that machine has been incredible. It does everything that I could have expected it to do, so much faster than the 2017 27-inch iMac that I had before it. So I couldn't justify spending nearly $3,000 on a computer that, while it would have been faster, it wasn't going to be so fast or so much faster that it was going to outshine what I already had. And, what I'm doing with my current Mac Mini is recording audio, recording video, processing both, uploading them to YouTube and to the VertShark website and to my podcast account over at Podbean, and making audio files out of the movie files that I've already uploaded from DaVinci and edited in DaVinci. And it was doing all of that so fast that there was just not enough justification to spend the kind of money that it would have taken to do a Mac Studio, even the M1 Pro Mac Studio. So I'm going to hang on. I'm going to hang on to the M1 Mac Mini, but I am curious as to how many people have bought an M1 or a Mac Studio and or a Studio display, and whether it was a replacement for an Intel-based Mac or for an already purchased M series Mac. And it was kind of driven home to me how fast these computers are. I'm doing all of this on a 2018 MacBook Air, and it's not a slouch machine. I mean, it's nicely outfitted. But when I was editing the last Guy's Daily Drive with DaVinci, I was only getting about 10 to 20 frames a second of processing or rendering as it was kind of chewing through all of the editing that I had done. Now, the editing process went just as quickly as it did on the M1, but it was outputting the final product, where things were much slower on this MacBook Air than they are on the M1 Mac Mini. Now, would they have been just as slow on that 27-inch iMac from 2017 that I had? I don't know. I don't have a basis of comparison for that. But for doing all of this same kind of stuff that I do so quickly on an M1 Mac Mini on this 2018 MacBook Air, it was kind of telling just how fast these M series processors are. So if you have a M1 or if you have a Mac Studio, I would love to hear what your experiences have been with it, how you outfitted it, and what made you decide to get that instead of an M series MacBook Pro or an M series Mac Mini. And I think that is going to do it for today. I wasn't planning on doing a really super, super long one. So if you want to get a hold of me, and if you're interested in maybe having the Mac to the Future live cast come back, it wouldn't be the same as it was before, because I was doing that on we when I say, David Ginsburg, Warren Sklar, and I were doing that on Wednesday nights. So I would have to pick some night when, if either one of them were going to be part of it, that they were going to be available. Because Tuesday nights, of course, is Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live, which is a fantastic show. And I certainly wouldn't ask Dave or Warren to give that up. Wednesday nights are kind of a no-go for me now. And Thursday, Dave does his In Touch with iOS. I don't know why the hell I'm getting so old. In Touch with iOS, and he does that live. So I wouldn't be asking for him to give that up either. So we're looking at like a Monday or a Friday, or possibly at some point during the weekend. But then we run into problems with the My Mac podcast that I do. Anyway, I'll have to give it some thought and figure out if I want to do anything with that. But you can get a hold of me either here through the Mac to the Future Facebook group, my own personal Facebook page, Guy Searle. You can also send me email to podcast@vertshark.com or guy@mymac.com. You can reach me on the Twitters, which is going to be either VertShark or MacParrot. You can help support the things that I do by going to Patreon, patreon.com/MacParrot. Coffee, buy me a coffee, ko-fi.com/MacParrot. Or pay a pal over at paypal.me/MacParrot. Over on the YouTubes, if you look up the VertShark channel, which is where I post all the videos that I do, you can like, share, subscribe to that, and that would be a huge help. Like, share, subscribe. So easy. There's just like nothing to it. And don't forget, of course, Dave Ginsburg's In Touch with iOS on Thursday nights. Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live that they do on Tuesday nights. And those are both at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as the mymac.com podcast that I do on the weekends with Gaz. Don't sleep on any of that stuff. That stuff is great. Great stuff. So, until we speak again, and I might actually do one more of these before I start my journey back home on Monday. But in the meantime, thank you all so very much for taking the time to watch and or listen to this program, and I will see all of you next time. Bye-bye.